have any of you applied to be appointed to a judicial seat by the governor?
I have an application in. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere, but I can't speak for anyone else. But I guess the short answer would be yes.
Yes.
Because obviously I feel I'm certainly a legitimate, strong person from that standpoint. And you know, I'll say this about Governor Schwarzenegger. Whatever you may feel about him, we probably have the same opinion. He actually has appointed, 2/3 of his appointments have been Democrats. Did you know that? 2/3. There's been a strong push for minority appointments, which I think at times is appropriate. Women, things of that nature. And I think I said this the other night, you know, I believe in diversity. I think it's important. And it's certainly, all things being equal, I think a diversity factor is something you should seriously consider in determining for whom to elect. But I don't think all things are quite equal here. And as I said the other night, you know, even though you look at me, I'm not going to bring diversity, but I'm going to bring competency and integrity and judicial experience. So,
my application is right next to his.
Gathering dust.
Actually, my application is not. I did submit an application. I've gone through evaluation by the Jenny Commission, and so I am on the short list. I don't know. I am a Democrat, and we do have a Republican governor.
Republican party?
Republican governor.
Thank you.
And you also have to look, because I would be in Los Angeles Superior Court, you have to look as to not the open seats, but the seats where he needs to get appointments. And I know recently the appointments have been more so out in San Bernardino and Riverside counties, which are in serious need of judges. So that's, but I'm on the short list, so that's to answer your question.
No, I do not have my papers in. The reason being that, unfortunately, as political as running is, being appointed is somewhat political. You need to have somebody to push for you. As a prosecutor, it means having the district attorney pushing for you. And while I think I've got a good relationship with the DA, he's endorsed me, there are any number of other people in my office that are ahead on the list. I believe there are 900 attorneys waiting for appointment in Los Angeles. Wow. So realistically, I did not want to be one of these people that put their papers in and sit around and languish. That is why I chose this path to do it.
Another question. Minerva.
Why race 28?
Well, I think the answer is logical for me. I'm sitting in the seat that Judge Stevens is vacating. Judge Stevens is a friend of mine. I've known her now and been a colleague of her for almost 3 years. In fact, she called me because she was grappling. In fact, I'll point this out. This is interesting. You might not know this. When I was assigned in Department 405, because Judge Stevens went on leave because her husband had fallen ill. I don't know if you read it in the newspaper. He did pass about a month ago in just national news because he was a noteworthy person. She decided to, you know, spend her last days with her husband, and so literally I was appointed on a week-by-week basis starting in October because they felt that Judge Stevens would be coming back at some point. She had filled in her 20 years and could retire if she wanted to do. I did know that her office was up for election. There was 158 seats up, and one of us was her office, but I went on a week-by-week basis on the assumption that she was going to come back. And I handled her calendar that way. But as the months drew out and prolonged itself, it became clear to me that perhaps she might not come back. And then she called me personally the night before the first day, February 1st, of the opening seat. She told me what her decision was, that she was going to retire and not run, and she encouraged me to run for that seat, office number 28, which is the seat that I'm actually occupying in. And for the record, I was the first in line on February 1st, before the office opened, and some of us were the last in line. I just got to kid C-Mac and Ed, who literally did wait for the last vote, and I certainly understand and respect the reasons why they did, but they literally waited to the last minute to file for this particular seat. But I'm happy for them, and I'm certainly my privilege to run with them. I like Ed a lot. I love C-Mac, and you know what? I'm not going to lose sleep if either one of them are elected. I'll be frank with you about that.
Would anyone else like to join in on that question?
Actually, I would. Basically, in regards to seat 28, there are only 3 open seats. 3 open seats means that there is not an incumbent running, which means that even though Mr. Hammock refers to himself as a judge and whatever, he is
Have you
not.
ever heard me refer myself as a judge?
No, but you're a judicial officer.
I choose my
believe-
words very carefully.
Okay.
I choose my words carefully. I have never said I'm a judge. I always say judicial officer or subordinate
Okay.
judicial officer.
Which I think the correct term is referee. Is that?
I am a referee,
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
So I would appreciate not making any statements saying that I have said that I'm a judge. I clearly have not. So I'd appreciate that.
So the 3 open seats, there was no incumbent, okay? If you look at all the seats where candidates are running, there's only 1 woman in each seat. In this seat, when I applied and put in my papers, there was no woman running. So I figured, and when you look at these and you determine which seat you're going to run for, first of all, you go for an open seat, because research says if you run against an incumbent, the incumbent always wins. So you're not...
In your legal career is hard.
Huh?
In your legal career is hard.
Right. So you're not going to run against an incumbent, number 1. Number 2, you also look to see who is in the race. Whether they are, a referee, a civil attorney, or what have you. I looked into that, and I figured, given the other races and the amount of money that the other races are bringing to those races, I made the decision that 28 was the best. Plus, since there were no other women out there, I do offer a little bit of diversity in that regard. So I looked at all the races, open seats, and figured that number 28 would be the best. Unfortunately, it's very crowded, but the other seats that are open are just as crowded. They have 3, maybe 4, which is not any different if you're running against, 7 others. I mean, because it's contested. And you know that in these 3 open seats, you're going to most likely go to a runoff, especially in this one. It's going to be a runoff because if you looked in past elections, the candidates got anywhere from 20% to 10%. And that given that, they didn't have the requisite majority that they needed to avoid a runoff. So you know it's going to go to a runoff. And in doing that, you look at your expenditures too. If you know that you're in it for a long haul until November, you figure, well, you should be pretty conservative in spending money in, the June primary, so you have enough to combat November if necessary. So, I mean, just many decisions went into it.
Any other comments on that topic?
Yeah, I explained why I chose that as opposed to the other 2 races. Because I wasn't going to run against another deputy district attorney. There are exceptions to that, possible exceptions to that. But also in looking at the race, very candidly, I believe that there will in fact be a runoff, as Elizabeth said. If that was a bet in Vegas, that's how I fund my campaign. And looking at the strengths of the candidates. And I believe that I will be one of those 2, and that I'll be able to win in November, because of the strength of my background and my positions.
I have a different viewpoint. You finish it?
Yeah.
I have a different viewpoint. Actually, I raced 28 fairly early, but I signed up for it, but I didn't commit to it because of the situation that was going on with Luke. And when I walked in here, I come from Lancaster all the way down to Norwalk, so I just got there. It was, like you said, the very last person. I have a different opinion. I don't think it's going to be a runoff on race 28. I think I'm going to win in the primary, and I know everybody thinks I'm crazy.